So, Cersei's totally been planning this since Marjorie called her a grandmother last season, right? Pretty sure. Hello, it's the Curious Little back with another video, and today we are going to be discussing Season 6, Episode 10 of Game of Thrones, The Winds of Winter. Oh my gosh, that episode was amazing, and last week I was talking about how that episode was like the best one since like the Red Wedding. For me personally, I think personally this episode is the best episode, not only of this season, but of this series. Oh my gosh, and I could just be writing some highs right now because that was fantastic, but wow, that was so good. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive right into it, and let's just start off with some of the smaller plots that were going on. We had Sam and Gilly being adorable, and man, I want that library. That was an awesome library. I mean, not a lot happened. They arrived at the Citadel, and Gilly wasn't allowed in, but it was just one quick short little scene. It's good to touch base with them because there were a lot of characters that weren't necessarily mentioned in this episode, but there were a lot that were, so we're just going to go ahead and march on forward. All right, so we had an awesome scene with the Frey, and they were all just, the Freys were just happy because they'd won some tiny battles and whatever, and then we cut away and we come back, and this beautiful small child who's getting, sexually assaulted kind of by an old man, again, because, that happens in this show, got her revenge, and it was Arya, and it was amazing, and just one of the many moments in this series where it just, I'm not going to be able to be coherent in this episode. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This was so amazing. I love that Arya finally is back to her quest of killing the people on her list, and as much as that is all about vengeance, personally, I think it's justified. And I mean, this is, you shouldn't go around murdering people, but this is Westeros. This isn't our world, so I'm okay with her having a little bit of some vengeance killing going on because they deserved it, and they are kick the dog type villains. These are the type of people that you're supposed to hate. They killed a lot of characters that we really loved, so I'm okay with Arya finally getting her revenge. Moving on! And this has to do with some stuff that happened earlier in the episode, but it's still another one of the sort of small scenes. We had Lady Olenna visiting Dorne. I was freaking out about that for this entire season. Every single video that I made, I was like, where are the people from Dorne? I think I gave up about halfway through because I just figured they would never go back, but here we are, Lady Olenna talking with the Sand Snakes, and I loved her just shutting down those children. Lady Olenna, queen. She's amazing. I love that they're sort of kind of in cahoots, and they're ready to go back and take back King's Landing. And I saw online that some people were saying that at the end you could see some Tyrell ships in with all of Dany's stuff. I didn't have time to actually check that myself, but that's super cool if, maybe off screen they've sort of met up with everybody. And it is sort of hinted at because Varys is back with Dany by the very end of the episode, even though he was there in Dorne. So it's sort of implied that they are all with Dany on their way to take down those Lannisters. Man. All right, we're getting into some of the really important stuff here, but it was a shorter scene, so again, I'm going to sort of put it more toward the beginning. We had the stuff with Bran. We had a discussion a few episodes back about the Tower of Joy. I think it was near the beginning of the season, and I brought you guys up to speed. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll go ahead and link to that episode below, because I can't remember off the top of my head which episode it was, but look up the R plus L equals J thing, and you will be caught up, and oh my gosh. I mean, I never really had any doubts that wasn't a thing, but it's so cool that we finally have this confirmation. That scene has been in the books, so people who've read the books have known about that for a while. Of course, it spreads to people who haven't read the books, and everybody, if you're a fan online, you've seen that theory floating around, and I think pretty much everybody was pretty sure that Jon is not a Stark technically, but is a Targaryen. But it's cool to see without any words. Basically, I mean, it's confirmed. They went straight from that baby's face to Jon, and of course, they didn't need to do any info dump for us. We got it. We are smart television viewers. I'm pretty sure that most people got that that's who that baby was. So yeah, that's awesome that that's confirmed. We have to say goodbye to Benjen, but that's okay. He's north of the wall. He said that he will fight for as long as he can. And I don't know that we'll necessarily get to see him again, but that was a small mystery, not one that everybody was like super paranoid about, like finding out where Benjen was, what happened to him. But I think that it's nice that we got to sort of see him again, and even if we don't see him after this, it's nice that we know his fate is probably going to be that he dies trying to protect the wall and take out as many White Walkers and Whites as he can in this impending doom of them coming over the wall. So it's nice to see him again. Bran is awesome, almost back with the Starks. Arya's on her way too, I didn't really mention that, so more Stark convergence, and I'm all for that. You guys know me at this point. Big three. These are the big three plot lines that I really don't know how I'm going to order them, so I'll just start with Jon and Sansa because I feel like I've stuck them at the end of the episode every single week, so I'm going to knock them down a couple pegs. Wow, Lady Mormont just like stole the show, right? I mean, we all know this. That little girl is a fantastic actress, and she did such an amazing job. I love all the stuff with the North finally rallying behind Jon, who we now know is technically not a Stark. I mean, obviously he does have Stark blood because he's Lyanna's child, but it's interesting that he's technically a Targaryen and not a Stark. I wonder if that will come to fruition at all. I mean, Bran now has that knowledge, so maybe he would be able to bring that knowledge to them. I'm not sure how that will end up playing. I do think that because of that, he will probably end up taking the Iron Throne, and maybe him and Dany will rule together. I mean, like, not as a couple because they're related, but like, you know, just I don't know how that will end up working, and then Sansa will end up being queen in the North, or maybe Jon will just stay in the North and they'll sort of rule in tandem from King's Landing and from Winterfell. Who knows, but it's interesting that that will all be converging there, especially since he has already been proclaimed King of the North. We also had a really great scene with Davos just like, dang. I mean, Jon just sort of stood there and was like, I don't know how to react to these people yelling, mostly Davos yelling. I'm glad that he didn't kill Mel. I think that as much as it's awful, I mean, it's terrible, but she's right. Like, her parents were the ones that also burned this child at the stake, and she made a mistake, and she obviously feels terrible about it. Like, not that I'm just going to, like, forgive a child murderer off the drop of a hat, but like with Arya, it's a double-edged sword here. Like, I'm okay with Arya just, like, killing all of these terrible people. This is a fantasy world. Not all of the same rules apply, and I think that intent is important in this fictional world, and I do think that Mel has more to do, and she's going south, so I'm not sure where she'll end up. I wonder if she'll meet up with that other Red Priestess that we saw that was with Dany a couple episodes back, so it's interesting to see where she'll be going. All right, moving on. Speaking of Dany, we didn't get a ton from her. It was more just her leaving another just gathering trail of broken hearts behind her because she's just a heartbreaker, but I love that about her. And oh my gosh, making Tyrion the Hand of the Queen is just brilliant. I love it. Really excited to see, especially with everything that's happening with House Lannister, how he will be part of her taking the crown and taking the throne, which I assume will happen. I mean, we've been building this character since day one to take Westeros, so that'll be interesting. I imagine that it'll probably happen pretty early next season, because they still have, I feel like the main thing that we're worried about is all of the Whites and the White Walkers coming over the wall, and that everybody will sort of have to band together and fight against them. And I feel like all of the different bickering houses will need to sort of put aside their differences for that to happen. But we'll see. I want to do a separate video on stuff coming forward next season, so we'll talk about that at the end of this video. All right, I mentioned a couple things earlier, but there were definitely a bunch of different houses and house sigils. Got a quick shot of the Greyjoys on their boats with their just gorgeous house sigil. I feel like we have not seen it that much, but I love it. I love the, like, is it a squid, I think? I haven't seen it totally amazingly, but really cool looking. Beside the point. Really cool to see all of those houses sort of banding together. And like I said, there are people online saying that they saw some Tyrell boats in there. I imagine there's probably others if you pause and look around. So it's cool that that Dany's not just bringing the people that she's gathered in Essos, but that she actually has some of the houses behind her already in the form of the Lannisters and the Greyjoys, and potentially, if the internet is correct, also the Tyrells. It's pretty cool. I'm very excited to see what's happening with Dany. But like I said, we'll talk about that in another video. Let's move on to... I don't think anybody can argue that this was probably the most important stuff that was happening. As much as I love Jon and Sansa and I love my Starks, they had a very happy, non-eventful plot line. It was mostly just finding info. Other than Arya, everybody was like safe and happy the whole time. So I was very happy for that. But man, House Tyrell and House Lannister had some stuff going down. I need to give a quick shout out to some of the cinematography, and the music in this episode was just gorgeous. I heard multiple different versions of that main theme song done by different types of instruments throughout the episode. I definitely noticed it at the very beginning of the episode when everybody was coming into the sept and preparing for that trial. What a scene. And I'm not exaggerating here. When this episode, throughout the episode, there were multiple times where I was yelling at the TV or gasping and I was so into it. But when Marjorie's telling everybody to leave, I was leave Marjorie, go, run. I was telling her you need to leave, you are going to die. I'm so upset that she's gone. She's been such an amazing character. She was a force to be reckoned with. Luckily, she is survived by her grandmother, who is also a force to be reckoned with, and as I've mentioned, probably is with Dany. So we have not seen the last of her house by any means, but rest in peace. You poor thing. And Tommen, too, he didn't do anything wrong. He just has a terrible family. It's not his fault. Cersei has just, wrecked shop, and all of her children are dead. And now she is the queen, and is crowned queen of the Seven Kingdoms. And I was kind of expecting at that last moment there when Jaime showed up and he was, looking at her, for her to smile at him. Just because I sort of expected that from her. But I like that they kept it that she was just... Even though this awful thing had happened, and it ended in her getting the throne, she still wasn't happy about it. It was sort of she got what she wanted, but at what price? And I could see that just in their acting. And in Jaime's acting, I didn't really think about this while watching the episode, but my husband pointed out to me that, he killed the previous king. Well, not the previous king, but he killed the Mad King because he was threatening to burn people with that wildfire, and then Cersei turned around and did that, and she did basically what Jaime is known for preventing, even if most people don't realize that's why he did it. He's called Kingslayer because he sacrificed everything. He sacrificed his reputation so that he could save people. I love Jaime as a character. I think he's a great character, and honestly I love Cersei as a character too. I just think she's a terrible person. It's interesting that is something that is so ingrained in his past and what people call him as a Kingslayer, because he stopped this very thing that Cersei just did from happening, and now it happened anyway, and it resulted in the death of one of his children. Just awful. I feel really bad for Jaime. Don't really feel that bad for Cersei. I will give Cersei credit. As you guys know, I was sort of hard on her early in the season for just kind of sitting around and brooding and not doing anything like she should, and man, she did stuff, and now I kind of wish she'd pulled back, but but Cersei's back. I think she's back to her old self, even if she has kind of caused some mayhem in her wake. She's back. That's what we end on, is Cersei being crowned, and Jaime just kind of staring at her, and them locking eyes in not a loving fashion at all. I think that relationship might be basically done. I mean, she's done some awful stuff before, but this is something that Jaime turned on his king for. So I think that relationship might be a little bit on the outs. All right, well, that is what I had to say about the Winds of Winter. I could say so much more. There was so much that happened. It didn't even mention some of the characters that were killed during this episode, but only so much I can talk about. That being said, I want to do another episode later this week. I didn't really discuss a lot of what's going forward and what we predict for what's happening next season. And I want to talk with you guys a little bit. You guys have been awesome down in the comments, and I haven't really had a chance to, in video form, respond to a lot of stuff that you guys have been saying. So please, down below, leave some comments for the entire season, not just this episode, but please discuss this episode as well. I want to see what you guys think. What are your guys' theories going forward? Do you guys have any questions for me, or things that you think I should know that I haven't mentioned that maybe I missed? Because I'm just a person watching an episode. I miss a lot of stuff. I try to do some research on the internet before I make these videos, but I miss a lot, and you guys let me know every single week, so I would be happy to have you do that again. Bring me back up to speed on some stuff that I missed, some plot lines that maybe I didn't discuss throughout the season, and later this week we'll go ahead and have a full season recap / looking forward to next season discussion episode, and I will see you guys later when we do that. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you down in the comments and later this week for an episode. Thank you so much. Bye.